So now it's time to plant. We're going to start with the process for planting microgreens. So you'll need a few supplies to get started. You will need a funnel, your measuring cup and measuring spoon. You need your seed, spray bottle, 4 of your square trays, 1 of your 10-20 trays. You'll need water, you'll need your soil, and you'll need a clean jar if you're going to be soaking your seeds before you plant them. We do recommend soaking your larger seeds because it helps to break down the seed coat and helps them germinate and sprout more quickly. We want you to do this with almost all of the seeds that we provide to you except for radish and mustard. Make sure that you check your manual as well as the back of your one-page handout to see which seeds should be soaked and which shouldn't, and for how long they should be soaked. So we've already soaked our seeds in preparation for today, but if you were to soak your seeds, this is all you need to do. To soak your seeds, simply take your clean jar and measure out the amount of seeds that you need for a 10x10 tray. You can find that information in your teacher's manual. For sunflower that I have here, we need 1/2 cup. We're going to use our measuring cup to measure out 1/2 cup of seeds. Once you've measured out your seeds, simply pour it into your sterilized jar. You want to add enough water to completely submerge your seeds, as well as about double the height of where the seeds are. That's because your seeds are going to soak up a lot of water, and this is going to mimic the spring rain. So it's going to give a boost to your seeds and help them germinate much more quickly once you plant them. Now, sunflower seeds specifically can be a little tricky, and you'll notice a lot of your seeds are still above the water. You just want to press your seeds down and make sure that they're fully submerged. You can leave your seeds somewhere dark, just stick them in a cupboard or a cabinet for sunflower seeds. You want to leave them for 8 to 12 hours, but again, make sure you check your teacher's manual for the amount of time you need for each seed. The process is exactly the same. After a good 8 to 12 hour soak, you'll notice your seeds have expanded a little bit. If you're planting your sunflowers, you might notice they even have a little white sprout coming out the end. As you dive into planting, we suggest that you follow along in your teacher's manual for your first time. After that, go ahead and use your cheat sheet as you go. But the first time will give you lots of extra information so that you understand why you're doing some of the things that you're doing. So to get started, we're going to fill our trays with soil. We want to place 2 10x10 trays within our larger 10-20 tray. You're going to have 2 extra 10x10 trays, and those are going to be used as the covers once you're finished planting. So set them aside for now. Next step is to fill your trays with potting soil. We suggest 4 cups of potting soil in each 10x10 tray. The measuring cup you've been provided is a 2-cup measuring cup, so you can put 2 full measuring cups in each 10x10 tray. Now you can use more soil. We don't recommend using less for your first couple growing. That's because the potting soil itself has a moisture holding capacity. Using less soil means that you do have to continue watering more often, because as the roots grow, you'll have less and less water holding capacity in the soil. But go ahead and experiment as you go. Lots of people use far less soil for their microgreens, and lots of people use more. Once you place your soil in your trays, go ahead and smooth it out and evenly distribute it. You want to have as smooth and even as a top as you can when you get to scattering your seeds. Your potting soil will be light and airy because it has a lot of peat and vermiculite in it. Go ahead and give it a little pat down. Next step is going to be to moisten the soil. Now we do that by adding 3 cups of water into the bottom tray. Simply position your funnel in between the 2 trays, measure out 3 cups of water and simply pour it in. Wait about 5 minutes for the potting soil to completely absorb the water. After about 5 minutes, you will notice that your soil has absorbed the water from beneath. The top of your soil might still be dry, but that's okay. We'll be spraying it after planting. Now you're ready to plant your seeds. Simply grab your pre-soaked seeds, or if you're planting your mustard or your radish, go ahead and use those dry. So those don't need to be soaked ahead of time. This particularly is the great activity to do with the kids, all series of them. So you're going to go ahead and scatter your seeds on top of the soil. Try to distribute them as evenly as you can. So once you've scattered your seeds, we have one extra tip for you, and this is something you won't find in the manual. We found that one of the best practices is to actually tamper the seeds down into the soil using an empty tray. To do that, you simply place the empty tray on top of the planted seeds and just give it a press. That just encourages good contact between the seeds and the soil. If your soil is quite moist or wet to begin with, you just want to make sure that no seeds have been picked up off the bottom of the tray. So your next step will be to moisten the top of your seeds. For microgreens, we do not cover up the seeds. However, there's lots of different ways of growing microgreens, and different people do it different ways. You can go ahead and experiment with covering up your seeds. You can talk to your students about the difference between growing microgreens inside and how we might plant outside. We found that the best way is to leave the seeds uncovered. We're going to be covering the seeds with a blackout dome afterward, and that's going to mimic the seeds being planted in the dark ground. To moisten the seeds, you're going to simply spray until the top of the soil is moist and the seeds are glistening. And there you have it. You've planted one side. Now go ahead and plant the other side as well. You can plant two different types of seeds. You can also have the students pull out the trays so that they're planting them at their desks in groups and bring them back to the larger 10-10 tray when they're finished planting. Once you've planted both sides, it's time to cover with the blackout dome. The blackout dome has a few purposes. It will lock in moisture, so it'll keep the seeds nice and moist while they sprout. It also helps the seeds think they're planted underground. We also take advantage of one other feature and adaptation of seeds is the fact that they will try to find the light. So you'll notice that when you plant your microgreens, they'll start to grow quite tall before we remove the blackout dome. We want the sprouts underneath to grow about an inch or 2 inches before we remove the dome. This is very different than if we're planting our salad, as we'll show later, or if we're planting other seeds. We always want to encourage compact growth when we're planting other seeds so that the stems are very strong. But when we're growing microgreens, we actually want them to grow tall. So we want them to seek the light before we remove the blackout dome and then place them under the lights, and that will make them grow long and tall. So if you've ever seen the pea greens and the sunflower greens, we want them to grow a long stem. So simply cover with your blackout dome. Try to keep them out on a counter. You'll notice that the blackout domes do have some holes, and that's to allow some airflow through. And you want to check every few days to see how your seeds are doing. If you notice that the soil has dried out and the seeds have dried out, just make sure you give them a spray until they glisten.